What's going on, everyone? Cyclops with Paramount Cyclops here. And filming the police. That has been upheld by the Supreme Court many, many, many times. Many local jurisdictions say, yeah, it's okay to film the police as long as it's from a certain distance. Now, this case, yeah, the guy definitely was at a pretty far distance. They definitely were in public. I have no idea why they took this harsh route. And then booked for menacing. So, before we get into the story, we first have to see what menacing is. So menacing, according to Merriam-Webster, is presenting, suggesting, or constituting a menace or threat. Threatening, a menacing look, menacing words. Okay? The menacing look I kind of have a bit of an issue with because, well, that's subjective. I walked down the street and had people straight cross the street to avoid me because, well, some people have told me evidently when I walk down the street under certain circumstances, or maybe it's wearing the leather jacket, I don't know, I look menacing. I certainly don't feel like I look menacing, but some people think that I do. So that's kind of subjective. But I leave that up to your opinion, and we will watch the video here in a minute on whether the officers were justified or whether the person was justified. So let's read this, the Daily Mail. Kentucky man live streaming cops as they carry out an arrest is hit with a solid left hook by officer and then booked for menacing. Now, the solid left hook is in quotes because that's what the Kentucky man who was live streaming the cops had said the cops did. The cops said they did what's called an open hand maneuver, basically like a forceful slap, which the idea is not the inertia force. It's more of you're supposed to place your hand on them and with your force push them. You're not supposed to actually have inertia behind it. But yeah, how many times in the heat of the moment does that actually happen? 9 times out of 10, it's actually a full-on closed-handed, thing. And then booked for menacing. Why do they always do this? They go after people who aren't doing anything wrong, and then they charge them. And then later on, they drop those charges, and yet nothing ever comes out of, don't be charging these guys. Let's get into it. It's just absurd. A man who was filming an arrest on Facebook Live was confronted by police officers and allegedly punched before being arrested himself in Jeffersontown, Kentucky. Joe Bennett claims he was hit with a solid left hook by the officer after he began recording a live stream on Tuesday when he saw 5 police cars swarming around a suspect, which he deemed to be excessive. Okay, and that's fine. The camera keeps everybody honest. If you have nothing to hide and you're doing just your job and you're fine, then why wouldn't you want it to be filmed? All it's going to do is back up your side of the story. If you're in the right, you would want people to film because it backs up your side of the story. You say, hey, if you don't believe me, there's the film. For most of the video, Bennett narrates while standing at a distance next to a McDonald's approximately 50 feet away from the police action, according to the New York Post. Now, most states, and obviously every state and every local jurisdiction, and things are a little bit different wherever you go. I know here, it's 25 feet. I know that because anytime you go to film anything, the officers will set up a staging area for journalists 25 feet away, and they'll give you a little instruction saying, as long as you stay 25 feet away, blah, 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 you can film, do not interfere, blah, blah, blah. At various points in the video, he even makes mention of his own desire to avoid getting caught up in the incident, claiming he was not looking for a problem and was trying to stay away so I don't get involved. Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes in instances like this, we try to stay uninvolved, and the incident comes over and involves us anyways. This might be the most boring live video ever, Burnett says at one point, and literally, not long after that, things ensue. So, this is the video. It's only 1 minute and 15 seconds, so we're going to play this, that way you guys get it in full context. The arrest was the officers were showing up at that bank for a fraudulent check call. This guy had no idea what the call was for. He just saw 5 officers for one person, thought it was excessive, and decided to film, most likely for 2 reasons. 1, to keep the officers honest. 2, secretly hoping something does pop off, so that way he gets a really good YouTube video that gets a lot of hits. Come on, we live in the new age. Let's be honest. All right, here we go.
I'm trying to stay away so I don't get involved. I ain't trying to piss off the police or nothing. I'm just didn't see a need for 5 police cars to be pulling somebody over.
Now, at this point, you can't see it, but what the story is saying and what the officers are saying is while they were arresting that other individual, the reason that they engaged the man filming was because the individual pointed at the man who was filming. My standpoint on the outside looking in would be more than likely the guy just was trying to distract the cops, or he was just more like, hey, look at that guy filming. I don't want that guy filming, because he didn't want his face on YouTube. Let's continue.
Pretty good? Yeah, why?
Because you're filming a crime scene investigation, and
I'm just filming in public.
And you are involved.
I'm not involved with anything. I'm sitting right here.
Sir, I need your ID.
I refuse to give you my ID.
And just like that, just because he refused to give his ID, they took it from 0 to 60 real quick.
Hey, easy now. Let go. Why are you hitting me? Stop. I'm trying to...
Yes. Why? Well, because officers don't like to be filmed when they're doing anything for some weird reason. Even though the officers are filming a lot of times, and most of the time when we find out the officers are not filming, it's because they're doing something they shouldn't be doing and they purposely turned off their body cams. You're filming a crime scene investigation and you're involved, one officer says to Bennett while asking him to produce identification. When Bennett defends his actions, there's a clear scuffle over the phone, with the video continuing to show a physical confrontation for several seconds before the live stream ends. Police claim an officer was forced to hit Bennett with an empty strike during the arrest. They call it an empty strike because it is empty and void of inertia, which is what causes most of the damage on a hit. It's supposed to be more of a and make contact slowly and then push your way through. Yeah, like that's what really happens in the field when the adrenaline's going. Bennett, on the other hand, claims he was hit with a solid left hook and needed medical treatment in the immediate aftermath of the incident. Police ultimately issued a citation to the filmographer for menacing and resisting arrest, but they didn't put him under arrest. They asked for his ID. That wasn't putting him under arrest. They didn't even say he was detained. They just immediately went for it. According to Spectrum News, one of the suspects in the crime police were initially responding to, which was a check fraud scheme unfolding at a Citizens Union Bank across the street, implicated Bennett by pointing to him during the arrest. So now, anytime a suspect is being arrested, if they want to, all they have to do is point to any innocent individual and the officers will act accordingly. Okay. Crazy. That is Mr. Bennett right there. Bennett has since been ruled out as a suspect in that crime. Yeah. I mean, if he was a suspect in the crime, what is the likelihood with the cops there that he's going to calmly stay and film? He's going to at least scurry away in some way, shape, or form. Speed walk, maybe. He's not going to stand there and film it. Look, my partner's getting arrested. I'm going to stand here 50 feet from the cops and be like, hi. No. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Schmidt of the Jeffersontown Police Department told Spectrum that the police would like to speak to Bennett about what happened. Of course they would like to speak to him about what happened. They want to offer him a... what was that story? A prepaid card to get a free pizza to make up for it or something. There was a story not long ago where a woman was not too dissimilar from this situation, and the cops tried to bribe her with a prepaid pizza card. Doing proper police work, they should... Bennett, however, wants to find a lawyer before engaging in that discussion, and that is the smart move. Doing proper police work, they should have approached me gently, Bennett said to Spectrum. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't in my vehicle. I wasn't going to flee. They certainly shouldn't have hit me first and asked questions later. And here, I agree. But you have your own eyes, you have your own opinions, you have your own situations, and I'm interested. Whose side are you on? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Should he have not been filming? Should nobody be allowed to film the police? Should everybody be allowed to film the police? Personally, 50 feet away. Anybody that's saying that he shouldn't be filming the police because he's interfering, he's 50 feet away. How is he interfering? If you believe that, please expand, rationalize your reasoning, and explain to me how he was in the wrong. If you think he's in the right, well, then we're in agreement. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.